Hello everyone, happy you could be here. Let's dive in. Sit at My Grave, Season 3, Ego's Death. Chapter 5. After trying to get a bit more settled, Arden ordered food up to his room. He had a quick meal, being more thankful for the room discount after seeing the price of dinner. His main focus was on getting to bed so he could be sure to catch his flight in the morning. Hot water rushed out of the shower head, steam filling the room. Arden seized up as the drops began hitting him. He soon relaxed under it, sighing as he closed his eyes. The most important thing on his mind should have been that last incident by the street. He clumsily shoved that thought to the back of his brain, his excuse being, it could have just been an intense thought due to how stressed he was, and if it wasn't, he just had to try to make peace with the fact that he was on the path to find out more soon anyway. Diving into those things never seemed to help him much, especially before bed. He couldn't try to ask Josiah directly. Just the thought of conjuring him up after that experience left a bad taste in his mouth. He was sure he wouldn't get a straight answer, and even if he did, he questioned if he would even be able to handle it right then. Even with that logic, his mind still brought up other events. While he stood under that water, Arden felt the swell of emotion and trying to fight back surged through him. Being alone in a physically vulnerable state played tricks on his mind somehow, almost giving it the okay to pick and prod to what he avoided. His own words of the past played back through his head loud and clear. Each harsh, snarky comment, all the ill-intended remarks bubbled back to the surface and made him wince. Arden found himself in front of his room's mirror, clothed, but patting his damp hair a bit. It would always pain him to see his brother's face when he saw himself, but the person he saw now hurt for a different reason. This ache was a separate type of mourning. He's there, but he isn't. Not the way I thought. Arden thought with a bitter sadness. Just another case of him thinking he knew more than he did. It seemed everything he built up just crumbled down around him. He was left standing there in the cold. Arden migrated to his bed after shutting off the light. He kept the dim lamp on while he lay back staring at the ceiling. His face and eyes felt warm, and his brain forced him to bring up what he'd learned recently. As much as he wanted to repress it and try not to care, it was hard to fight when he was alone. Shutting his eyes didn't help. He couldn't seem to shake it. He just hoped he could get it together by the time the sun shined in the sky. Arden Everett Adler! You can't possibly think this is okay! Arden recalled his mother yelling at him. A while prior to his trip, she found his suitcases, and after getting suspicious, she checked them. Once she saw everything was being packed, she had gotten upset and called Arden about it, asking him, in his opinion, way too many questions about it. Once Arden had gotten home, the explosive conversation continued. Renlee stood there with a weary expression. Her gloved hands dripped soapy water into the kitchen floor. As she stood there staring at her son, there was a frustration pouring from her eyes and body. Arden didn't like being ridiculed like that. He was realizing lately he'd been getting way too upset and ended up regretting things later. But as much as he was trying to stay calm, he could feel his own annoyance building up, brought on by the pressure he had. Verna sat at the table. She had been doing a crossword puzzle, keeping Renlee company while she did dishes. Now she found herself glancing from her daughter to her grandson during their uncomfortable standoff. I'm paying for everything myself. Why shouldn't it be okay? Arden challenged back. He shifted his weight to one side, keeping his tone even. And when exactly were you planning on telling me you were going anywhere? Renlee questioned. She slumped her gloves onto the counter, folding her arms. I would have soon enough. It's not my fault you went snooping through my things and got mad, Arden retorted. Snooping through your... Renlee started. She took a breath, calming herself. She wasn't normally a disciplinarian by any means. Hardly liked raising her voice at her kids. But even thinking about Arden being far away from home terrified her. Where are you even going? Renlee questioned him. She wanted information, but she in her mind didn't figure she would let him go regardless of what he said. I'm going abroad to study, Arden told her. It wasn't exactly a lie. We couldn't very well tell her the truth. She would think he was crazy. Study? Study what? Renlee frowned. Arden became less and less eager about school as far as she knew, so it just didn't make sense to her. It doesn't matter. I planned the trip already. I saved my money for it. I'm going, Arden declared, matching Renlee by folding his arms too. So you want to take a random trip by yourself instead of helping the family? Honestly, you didn't even think once to help me, Riley blurted out. She hadn't meant to sound so bitter, and after Reed, she especially didn't want to ask her own kid for help anymore. But with all they'd gone through as a family, she had figured Arden would genuinely want to help her. It stung that he didn't. Regardless of her outburst, that wasn't her main concern. Arden took a small step back, not expecting Riley to raise her voice at him. He wanted to help her, but this was the best way he knew how to do it. It never got easier hearing as the people around him seemed to lose their faith in him. How about we all just calm down a little? We won't get anywhere screaming at each other like this. Verna warned, slowly standing to her feet. You just don't get it, Arden sighed after a few moments of silence. No, young man, what you don't get is that you're not going anywhere, Riley announced, pointing her finger at him. I don't know where you want to go, but you're just going to have to wait till we can go as a family, Riley decided. Arden rolled his eyes in frustration. He didn't have the time. It would be much easier if he could just tell her the truth, but aside from that, he was old enough to make his own choices. He'd already made a lot of bad ones, and at least with this he was trying to fix it. Her commanding him like that just made his chest burn with aggression. I'm not waiting. I told you I have a flight already, Arden snapped. Well, you're just gonna have to cancel it. There's no way I'm letting you go by yourself, Riley shot back. Just the thought of Arden going over there all alone made her blood pressure go up. I'll be back soon enough, Arden started. He paused briefly before continuing on with a frown. You, Reed, and Dad all went out around my age. You're being a hypocrite by trying to make me stay home. Arden spat. Verna shook her head with a sigh. Arden, don't speak to your mother that way, she told him with a disappointed firmness. Riley balled up her lip, casting her eyes down. What? I'm just saying by that logic, this isn't fair. Arden hardly got the words out before Riley was speaking again. Fair? Nothing has been fair for anyone lately. Arden, I'm trying to help you. You can't handle being on your own, and you know it, Riley remarked. She was getting upset, but told herself she wouldn't cry. Even she could hear her voice being broken. She shouldn't be so sensitive, but there was no helping it. Arden felt that familiar sting again. It was like climbing a tall mountain. Everyone meant to help him up, were constantly pushing him down. It wasn't intentional, and he'd figured this out, but it never failed to make him more defensive. Maybe I'm the one losing faith in me, Arden thought to himself. Why else would he get so hurt and defensive if he didn't see some truth to what they said? Arden's stance got aggressive. I can't handle it. Why not? 'Cause I'm not Reed? Arden retorted. But the look on his mother's face and the surprise on his grandmother's, he knew he shouldn't have said it. Really let out a shuddery breath. You know that's not what I meant, Really backtracked. It's not? 'Cause all you and everyone else does is compare me to him. He moved out young and no one cared. Why can't I go study? Arden questioned. I need you here, Riley muttered. She didn't want to treat her remaining child unfairly. She couldn't keep him there forever. But she didn't think he would try to leave like this. You need me here? Arden scoffed. It was a lie. Maybe she was scared to lose another kid, but she did not need him like they did Reed. You just don't think I'm as good as Reed was, Arden accused. Honey, I didn't say that. The world isn't always a kind place. I got myself into a lot of situations I regret, Riley started. She bit her lip briefly before continuing. And your brother had to handle things. But that didn't mean I didn't fuss with him about his safety too. It's just, I didn't have to worry with Reed as much. He knew how to handle things. You just don't know what that's like, Riley told him. Arden's expression shifted. He lowered his folded arms, shoulders slumping a bit in the process. He couldn't think of what to say. Despite the heat in his chest, he felt frozen in place. He wanted to fight back, but no words seemed to fit. Verna was the first one to cut the tension. She walked up, hugging Arden, kissing his cheek. When you really need to have it, it'll feel like it was waiting for you. Just slow down for now, honey, Verna whispered to him. Arden couldn't fully interpret what she meant by that. He wasn't even sure if he felt better. The only thing he did know was listening to either of them wouldn't get his brother back. Regardless of how right or wrong they were about the world out there and its cruelty, They didn't have the same festering guilt he did. He couldn't stand still. Pushing forward was the only way. What out there could be more cruel than him being the cause of his own brother's death?